So up next, we have Attracting the Luxury Traveler, moderated by David Goldstone, who is the Executive Vice President and Chief Sales Officer of World Cinema. It's sponsored by Dish Business and World Cinema. So thank you in advance, David. Welcome to the stage.
Well, good morning, everybody. Great to be here with an incredible panel. Sharon, wherever you are, just so that you know, we are going to go way longer than the prescribed time. There is a network break after us, so we can work right through. If you want to get anything to drink or eat, please help yourselves. But there is no way with what we've got, the text messages I've got with questions, and what this panel has to discuss, we're going to finish in 40 minutes. So with that, I am going to hand it over in order. If you, lady and gentlemen, wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves to the audience and letting them know who you are and why you are here.
Oh, thank you, David. My name's Ron Pohl. I'm president of World Hotels. World Hotels has existed internationally for about 51 years. We have 170 upper upscale and luxury hotels throughout Europe, Asia, and North America.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and listening to us today. So I am Benoit, and I lead W Hotels worldwide, joined back the company to transform the company and how to get ready for the next generation of luxury travelers. So if you want to hear about luxury travelers, welcome. We're here for that.
Great. Well, hello. I'm Kris Singleton. I'm the SVP for Dish Commercial Business Unit. And I've been in the hospitality, gaming, casino, travel industry for the last 20 years, but I spent the first 15, actually, of my career with CPG, with Hallmark Cards. It's a pleasure being here. I have been with Dish now the last 5 months, so really exciting to be here with this great panel and talk about the luxury traveler.
My name is Kenan Simmons, and I'm the Senior Vice President of the Americas for Small Luxury Hotels. We're a collection of over 500 small luxury hotels, as the name says. Our average size is 65 keys. We like to say that we're anti-same, and we have a saying where architecture, atmosphere, and the attitude of the place reflects the character of our owners. So happy to be here.
I saw a lot of puzzled looks when Kris was giving her intro. She was 10 years old when she started in the industry, so I hope that answers the questions that are out there. I'm going to open up with, obviously our panel is Attracting the Luxury Traveler. And I'm going to open this up. Anybody please jump in. We don't have to go in any specific order. But what does the luxury traveler today mean to each of you?
Sure. Well, I think the luxury traveler today continues to evolve. When you look at the top, say, 10% affluent travelers around the world, that's kind of the target market of our customer. But we're seeing that change generationally in that it might not be necessarily the parents' money, it's the children's money that was the parents' money that is now traveling. And how do you continue to attract them? Because their expectations are completely different than we baby boomers. And how do we continue to create the experiences that they want? And when you look at that mix of business, defining it, say, 45 and older and 45 and younger, we're at about a 50-50 split in the customer demographics today. So for the first time in the lodging industry and throughout all segments of it, but especially in the luxury segment, we're seeing that tip more to the younger folks that are traveling today, and we need to evolve our thinking if we're going to continue to attract them.
And to your point, just to give you a data, 85% of the luxury growth in the last 2 years comes from Gen Z and millennials. So there's definitely a big change right now impacting the entire luxury experience. And the way we see it, because we really try to prepare the brand for the next generation of luxury travelers, luxury, there used to be a time it was all about showing wealth, where right now, when you listen to the younger generation, it's not really about that. It's really more about, give me a purpose, give me a reason to travel, give me something where you are inclusive, give me something where you give me freedom. freedom that we didn't have in the past. It's also why we want to evolve, and it's why we see the luxury travelers is changing quite a lot. What do you think? I didn't mention technology because
You
we can
did.
spend here a lot of time. And of course,
You,
that's you.
you did, and I love that you weaved that right in there. Well, I think all of this is, what you both had said, obviously very relevant. And looking at it from a perspective of the experience, I think people are looking at purposeful travel for a reason, for a memory, for experience, whether it's health and well-being, whether it's family gatherings, whether it's to experience something that they've never experienced before in a location and to become part of the community and understand the community. And I think that's a big part of it. And so technology, from helping to capture that and to know the data, will help you all in understanding what's very specific to your regions, to your specific brands.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit different because I think, luxury sometimes can be a very overused word. I mean, everything, you see these days, they're trying to sell it as luxury, but I think really with luxury travelers, they're looking for more personalizations. They're looking for a purpose. They're looking for what's luxury to them. So what's luxury to a younger person who, it may be, going into, backcountry skiing somewhere in Utah versus somebody who's, of the older generation who it may be going into, one of these old Grand Dame hotels, whether it's the Ritz in Paris or something similar to that. So I think luxury takes a different meaning for everybody, and it's why they're traveling. When you're traveling with your family, luxury could mean something different when you're traveling with your spouse or your partner.
And Kenan, if you can jump on that, you are 100% right. The word luxury nowadays became so different than what it was in the past, and everyone has their own definition of what luxury is. And it's really no more, really about showing wealth. It's really about what is right for me and how you tailor-make the experience to what I want at that time in that location.
No, 100%. And I think, the luxury traveler is the person who can afford either your product or should stay in your hotel. But it's how you define or how you reach that luxury customer, because, again, it's across all different demographics, and your messaging has to be different for the various luxury travelers you're trying to reach.
Right, which is, I'm sorry, Ron, carry on.
Well, I just to add on to that, and it's a multi-generational decision that families are traveling, and everybody has input on where they're going and what they're going to do because they're staying for a longer period of time to really create that experience that everybody has talked about here.
Right. And I think that really ties in to the next point is technology. And a question that I've just been texted is, and we touched on it a little bit, but what do you think luxury means from a tech perspective from before, during, and after the guest stay, and how important is the in-room piece of technology to your guests?
Well, I'll take that. I think, obviously technology plays a huge part and became even more pervasive and persistent when COVID happened, right? Because people were looking for ways to find how find how properties were handling the situation, but then also persisted with contactless. How can technology help with the resource issues and challenges to improve efficiencies? So, RPA and robotics and the like. But I think for the question, it starts with today, the majority of people are spending about 53 days doing research on where they want to go, because it's not just they want to go to a hotel room. I mean, the threads, the sheets, the towels, etc., are pretty much a commodity. Now it's about the experience and the memories that are generated and created. And whether, again, like I said before and what you all have said, they're searching for something that's purpose-driven. If it's something that's spiritual, or it's their well-being, or it's to rejuvenate because we all are working way too much, way too long hours. How can we re-energize? What is it for each of us that re-energizes us? And so they're using technology to search. So when you're out there putting information about your properties on there, you've got to think about it in that perspective, right? Then taking that to during stay, they want recognition. You mentioned that. Everybody wants to be known and be recognized and also remembered, right? That's the key thing. When I was at Kimpton, we had a lot of training for all of the levels of associates to help retain somebody's name so that they saw David come up from at the lobby to in the room or down through in the restaurants, that they used his name and welcomed him and made him feel personal and definitely welcomed. So being able to have technology that hands that up, whether it's, their devices, their personal devices that they're having, so that they know who you are, when you are, and a little bit about you, those are really critical to in the room, and obviously having customized, specialized, targeted marketing. So utilizing the marketing automation that you already have probably throughout your different operations to be able to drive that into the in-room, but then throughout wherever they are on the property. So with that, I'll stop and let others talk.
And I will add on that. It's interesting what you said, I fully agree. The younger generations are digital native. They use an iPhone every single day of their life. And technology should be part of everything we do. And let's think for a second also about our associates. If we want to hire people who are currently 15, 18, 25 years old, and we give them technology which is 20 years old, that will not work. That's a reality. But to your point also, I think you mentioned something very interesting. No brand will win with technology only. Technology should be part of everything we do. But if you build a brand thinking that you will have a key differentiator and you will be a leader in technology, that will not last very, very long. And to your point, guests are using technology, but they want to have something deeper. And they want to be fed. They want to be creative. They want to think a different way. And it's our job as a luxury brand to give them the technology to reach what they want and then to create experiences that they couldn't find anywhere else, if it makes sense for everyone.
Yeah, memorable moments.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree. And I think, one of the biggest elements the luxury traveler today is looking for is personalization. They don't want to be treated as a commodity. They want, for you to sort of meet their expectations before they even ask for it. And I think technology enables hotels and other businesses to learn more about the customer before they even get there, and help you personalize. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the more our business changes, the more it stays the same. I mean, you go back to the roots of the industry, it was, how do you know who that person is that it's entering your hotel? Using technology to provide us with that advantage, to provide that higher level of service, that's good. If it's a frustration or a friction point for a customer, that's not good. So it's really using it to our advantage to provide that ultimate experience.
It's really an art in how you do that, right? And how do you incent them to want to opt in or share their information about them for the good, not from a creepy perspective, but for the good, to make sure that the experience that they have is memorable.
That's right.
Interesting. Great comment. So moving on from that, in attracting the luxury traveler today, obviously location of the property is important. I mean, as much as I love Sioux Falls, South Dakota, W is not going to open a W in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Not yet. So moving into that, and Benoit, I'm going to start with you and then hand it over to Ron and Kenan here as well, and Kris, please come in as well. Marriott just came out with a major statement saying how you are plotting luxury growth. And in doing my research, W has just opened in the Algarve. You've opened in Costa Navarino in Greece, Dubai, Minas Sayati, Toronto, the W, and you're looking at Prague, Budapest, Edinburgh, Sydney, Macau, Milan, United Airlines. By the way, Scott Kirby asked me to thank you very much for your patronage there. But in all seriousness, and to the panel, how are you deciding what are the decision points in where you open your hotels in order to attract the correct luxury traveler?
That's a tough question, and I don't control every time all the ingredients of the equation to open the right hotel into the right location. But to your point, David, we have 67 hotels open right now in the world in 32 countries. So when you think about brand awareness, it's a pretty powerful way, and we are probably the only global lifestyle luxury brand that can do that. So where do we go? First of all, the way we build W hotels. Every W hotel is different because 30% of the story of a W hotels will be based on the locality. So we want to make sure that there's a strong appetite for the city or the area in the city where we open to have a W hotels, because we build our hotels mostly for local people. So we want to make sure we have that. We want to make sure there's also a life around our W hotels. The idea for us is not to have our customers and lock them in the hotels for 3 days or 4 nights. It's really go and be part of something bigger, be part of a local community. And also there's something which is more and more important to us is the importance of food and beverage around the hotels. When you look at the younger generation of consumers, and I'm sure you saw that, the restaurants are becoming the new nightclubs. It's very, very intriguing to see how people are, go on Instagram and see how many pictures of food are posted every day. It's insane. So we are looking also more and more, I know you were doing that at Kenan also, on the importance of the food and beverage scene around us to make sure we complement and we add something new and different. And finally, we want to find also a location which match our values. W is all about, and we were talking about that last night, we have some very strong values about inclusivity, we have very strong values about freedom, we have very strong values of sustainability, and those are the type of things that we also look at when we make a decision to open an hotel.
Thank you. Ron, I'm going to
Yeah,
hand it to you.
I think it's two strategies. First and foremost, we know that consumers today prefer water when they can be on it, and they enjoy major city centers. So, but it's not repetitive. They're less and less likely to go back to the same destination or location they've gone in the past. So what is unique and different within those markets that we can convert an asset into? Similarly, though, to Kenan's point, is we launched a new brand just a year and a half ago called Crafted, and the intent of that was to be small boutique properties with the primary emphasis on food and beverage, because customers will spend more on food and beverage than they will in their hotel room for that experience. So it's a matter of tying that together with the local community to really provide an experience that is different from other locations. So the Crafted brand has grown from 0 to 22 properties in a little over 18 months, and we're looking to continue to increase that both in Europe and in the States.
Kenan, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, and I think, a lot of what Ron, said is similar to us, but I think the difference with SLH is, we try to be, anti-same, and I think it's also being anti-same with locations. The customer today, is looking for new experiences, and those new experiences include new destinations, things that are, maybe a little bit more off the beaten path than, the New York, the Londons, the Tulums of the world. They're looking for something that, they can tell their friends they found, to be the first person there. We have one property, for example, that's 4 villas on a private island off the coast of Nicaragua. Very tough to get there, but if you read their reviews and see the business that they're doing at this hotel, it's incredible. I would have never thought that they would do the amount of business that they do, just given its location. But again, I think it's that younger generation who are looking to explore and seek out new experiences, not just from a product standpoint, but also from a destination standpoint.
Interesting. Thank you. Kris, anything that you want to add there?
Well, I think, just from, not necessarily from a dish perspective, but from a hospitality perspective, it is, the world has become a smaller place, right? So enabling, just like what Kenan was saying about being able to get to that location might be challenging, but that's part of the experience and part of the travel destination of going through that and experiencing that. So I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of folks that are doing it. I know personally my daughter and son-in-law are like, okay, the most remote places, how can I get there? How can I experience all of that? They're really into that, and I think there's a lot of the population that's looking for that.
Good. We'll be sending them to Namibia soon, and I'll talk about that later. Okay. So.
Can I add something on that, David? Just, you said something very true earlier. And I remember I met with a focus group a couple of months ago about the notion of travel and people being well-traveled. And people now told me the way they are moving from well-traveled to travel well. And there's a notion right now where it's no more about adding and travel. It's about finding the right destination, the right moment, and how you can have an impact as a luxury travelers in the environment. How you can leave a space or the people in a better shape than when you arrive. And that's a shift we saw a bit before the pandemic, but that became very, very true nowadays where from what we see, people might travel less, but again, with a better sense of purpose. So I hear you with the destination where you go, where people will do the extra mile to go somewhere else, but just because it's not really about, I've been to 75 countries in the last 6 months. I might have been to 1 or 2, but it was so good, but I wanted to go there.
Well, it was interesting. Last week I was in Cannes for ILTM, and the highest attendance ever, over 6,000 people attended that conference for any of you that might have been there. But it was interesting because what we've seen is an increase in the desire to use travel advisors to choose destinations in place of social influencers to think about a destination. And that's one of the biggest declines. And in talking with a lot of the travel advisors last week, the demand that they have to find these unique destinations and places that they never even thought of traveling to was top of mind and extremely exciting to see.
And that's interesting. It leads me into the next question, which again is around technology. Talking about the unique places in the world that one can go to now, how is social media playing a role in the decision-making that, from a decision-making and a purchase point of view, from your perspective? Kris, maybe you want to kick off on that.
Sure. Stats show that majority of people are obviously looking at what their friends are saying first, what their I'll call it the segmentation of their demographic is saying, and a lot of them are going to social media for that. I think you're right, Ron. I think there's a lot of these influencers that are less influencing anymore because of just some of the hype and stuff that's happened and just bad press around some of the individuals themselves. But I think that technology obviously plays a huge part in that. Again, it starts with the data, collecting that data and having that access to their information about what they're sharing. I know that there's been a lot of discussion that I've had throughout my whole career, from even Microsoft to of late, around how do you create a travel vault that is safe and secure for the traveler to provide their information, their preferences, where they've gone before, where they'd like to go, so their aspirational interests, and providing that in a way that's open and available. Now, you get into that with the brands and the different properties. It's like, no, that's my data. And so we're still struggling with how do you share that data, but yet put it in the hands of the consumer and the guest and let them decide who gets that access to that. So there's a lot of technology that's still evolving around that, and I think AI and machine learning will actually help to propel that forward in a secure way with some of the new security developments that are coming in technology.
Gentlemen, anything you want to add? Or?
Well, I think there's also the new platforms of social media. We recently launched a TikTok channel. And everybody said, internally, we had this debate, is TikTok really luxury? And, does it fit with the brand? But, when you start to do the research, TikTok is about discovery. Yes, there's a lot of young people on TikTok, but it's becoming a more mature audience. I mean, a lot of you in this room probably get on TikTok and you'll spend an hour there before you know it. But I think what it also allows you to do on a platform like TikTok is really give authentic content. It can't be too slick, too packaged. It needs to be unique and authentic for people to, get pulled into it. And I think it's allowed us to do it. And I think it says a lot about our brand because, a lot of our hotels are quirky. So it lets us really show that off.
To that point, there's a lot of shifting to making sure that the majority of what the information shared is through testimonials. And so that's, video content. So plug for that. But, to be able to have those testimonials that talk to the experience and why they loved it so much, there's a big emphasis on that from advertising and marketing.
And I will just add two things here. I 100% agree with what you just both said. If you look at, again, the Gen Z consumers, their main source of information are social media. TV ads, whatever you want to create, even newsletter, they will not open it. Email is something they don't even use anymore. So it's really the source of information, so you have to be there. Can we stop hiring influencers once forever? I think they did a lot of damage to the hotel industry and travel industry for many, many years. So yeah, get micro-influencers, get authentic people. I think it's something we should all go and embrace. And the last thing also, I think as an hotel brands, if you are strong enough for younger consumers to arrive and put the phone on the table for half an hour and just enjoy the drink, the sunset, the connections, the conversation, it's a big win. It's what we have to do. The attention time for a younger generation is 8 seconds. After 8 seconds, if they don't like what they see, they just move on. So as a brand and as a luxury where we are building assets for the next 30 years, what do we do to make sure that we bring those people in our hotels and it's just a moment where they said, actually, real life is cool. What do you think?
I think everything that you've said is accurate, and I would just say that going again the opposite direction of print ad for the most part is dead. Don't waste your money there. Not many are using that to influence any decision in travel. So the media is where it is.
Thank you. We heard in the keynote this morning, excuse me, about forecasts being wrong and we'll do budgets now and it'll change in January, which is so true. And 99% of forecasts are normally wrong, no matter what industry you're in. CoStar probably does it better than others, but they still get it wrong as well. But what travel trends...
If you do it often enough, you're eventually right.
Exactly, that's true. What travel trends are you excited to see play out in 2023? Ron, why don't we start with you?
All indicators that I've seen is that luxury travel will continue to expand in 2023, and longer trips as well as more international trips. Now, people are still avoiding airlines when they can and doing local and regional travel. So again, some of the recent information I saw was that 50% of travelers will remain in country or around country, and 50% will go international for U.S. For U.S. primary destinations, number one is Italy, Australia, Japan are on the kind of top of the horizon, and almost all countries, the U.S. is in the top 3 of destinations that they will visit in 2023.
One trend I see and I really like, it's more than a trend, it's really a mindset. We see, again, the younger audience, we really spend a lot of time to speak to them over the last 3 years. This notion of being global, it's pretty impressive. Where people traveling nowadays, they come, they really want to enjoy, they really want to discover the culture, the cuisine, they want to meet with the people. That's something which is a big shift compared to even 10 years ago, where we're all coming with a pre-mindset, and I expect to have that, and I want to have kind of my comfort food and my comfort area. It's pretty interesting to see this global mindset where people are really curious, and I love to see that. It's something we should absolutely encourage.
No, I agree with Benoit. I mean, every article you read these days is about travelers wanting to experience something new. They're going to travel more, but they want something new. And I think the other thing is, and I think Bill Walsh touched on it in his presentation earlier about people being more conscious when they travel about sustainability, about wanting their money they spend on their holiday to give back or improve the lives of people in different communities. I think the days of sitting on the beach and just sipping cocktails all day, there's we want to do that, but I think people also want to do a lot more and experience a lot of different things while they're on vacation. I heard somebody say on the news or in the paper recently that people want to don't want to just come home and feel rested and relaxed from vacation. They want to be tired, but a good tired from experiencing a lot of different things.
I think the only comment that I can add to it is that what all these gentlemen said, but also adding in that the fact that people do want to feel better about what they just did, whether they learned more about the culture of an area and just are more worldly about, you know, the world around them, or that they are better because they went to a place and, you know, they were re-energized, as I said before. But I think those are important aspects of it. I think one interesting other trend that I'm really excited about is this jet share, and being able to not fly on the commercial airlines, but be able to get actually very economically feasible jets where you can be one of on a 10-seater or a 12-seater, and it's actually something I'm keeping my eye on. So I'm hoping that that's a trend that's going to
I'm
stay.
flying back to New York. Let's go and share it.
Thank you. Well, my questions have been thrown a little out of sync now because we've got questions from the audience coming in. So thank you, everybody. And please, anybody take it. What is the most desired personalized experience guests are looking to do when visiting your properties? What makes it unique to do them with you?
Do you have 2 hours?
Yeah, right. Don't worry. Don't worry about the time. Absolutely.
I mean, I think that's open to interpretation depending on the guest, but I think the more the guest feels immersed in, you know, the local community or, you know, where they are, I think that the thing guests don't want is when they go to a hotel or to a destination to feel like it's where they came from. They want it to have, you know, a local flavor to it.
Yeah,
rather
I
than
think
just
it's
standardized.
be authentic to what the hotel is, and that's why they selected it. So, you know, build that experience out for the entirety of the stay. You know, health and wellness is very popular, and if that's the element of your hotel that you really want to accentuate, then make sure that they, you know, that's completely embraced from the minute they walk in to the minute they, even before they walk in, until they leave. But every hotel is so different.
Well, I think, I know for me, from a traveler perspective, I look at it from some of the things you guys have talked about with food and beverage, right? So farm to table. Are there opportunities where I'm going to really experience the cuisine of the area and make sure that it is sustainable too? And those are important aspects of it, but to experience, again, the cultural aspects of it, but the local aspects as well.
Thank you.
And maybe I will wrap up everything into one thing. It's just, when a guest chooses an hotel right now, most of the time it's a very considered decision. It's a long time, long gone the times where you pick because of price or you went through Expedia or whatever thing. People choose your hotel with a reason. So I would just say, to create the right experience, you have to deliver your promise. As a brand, they choose you for a certain reason, which could be food and beverage, could be wellness, could be values of life, could be like W more around the party scene. But I'm coming to see you because you promised me something. So just give that to me. And if you don't deliver, younger generations of luxury travelers are even less forgiving than the previous ones, and they will tell you very quickly and very loudly saying, that's not what I'm paying for. And money is not an issue. They have the money, but they have expectation and they want to receive what you told them you will give them, if it makes sense.
Thank you. And that really ties in. There was another question. I think we've answered it, but it's an interesting question, is what are the top 3 things luxury travelers seek, and could you rate how well our industry is supporting each? But I really think we've pretty much covered it, unless there's anything specific either of you or any of you would like to add to that. But I think we've covered it. Hopefully we've answered these 2 questions.
I would just maybe add on what you were saying earlier, this notion of being responsible with business is something we see more and more. You know, we have been asked very often. I was in a speaker session a couple of months ago where a lady really literally came on stage after me and saying, you are doing a bad work for the environment with your website. And I was saying, what are you talking about? And then she explained to me that the better quality of pictures on your website, the more energy it's consuming, and then you have a larger impact on the environment and carbon neutral emissions and things like that. So there's a lot of things that we do not know, and we just want to make sure that we are getting asked more and more by younger generations, what do you really do to make the world a better place to be? So never forget that.
Thank you.
I think it's also value for money, for lack of a better word. You know, again, Bill Walsh touched on this earlier. Hotels are charging exorbitant rates right now. We love high rates, but the consumer doesn't want to get to a hotel, pay $1,000 a night, and then find out, you know, there's no daily housekeeping. I mean, housekeeping unless you ask for it. The pool may be not open this time of year. So again, if you're charging the rates, make sure you're delivering on what you're promising.
Very good point. Very good point. So this is a cliched question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and I'm going to start, Kenan, with you. What keeps you up at night?
Like, besides my kids? No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ever changing. I mean, you know, the question you asked earlier is, you know, who's the luxury traveler? I mean, if you look where the luxury traveler, you could really identify them pretty quickly 10, 15 years ago. But I think, you know, in today's world, the luxury traveler could be anybody. So it's, you know, how do you reach that person? It's become harder and harder. You know, when you're spending your marketing dollars, it's, you know, you're trying to reach everybody, but, you know, it's such a finite number of people to reach these days.
I know what keeps Kris up at night is how many new rooms World Cinema is going to deliver Dish next year, but there may be something else.
Exactly. You know, it's funny. Charlie's mission is that Dish is going to change the way the world communicates. That's a tall order. And so as we're, you know, for Dish, part of my role is to look at how the emerging markets and the products, what are those that enables, and specifically in hospitality, to change that, to enable that connectivity, to improve that streamlined communication within your property, but then also with your guests. And so that keeps me up trying to think of, okay, what are the products that we can create that enables us to achieve that lofty mission?
Two things, and it's why I don't sleep a lot, probably. How you stay relevant. I think it's part of the question you were asking, but relevant in a good way. There's a lot of noise nowadays in our world, and I try to see a bit more what are the trends beside the headlines. I think it's something important to make sure we stay relevant. And the second thing is, you know, W will be 25 years old in a couple of months. It's an amazing legacy. How you stay true to your values, how you stay true to your mission in everything you do, that's a hard work.
It's a lot, very difficult.
Excitement is what keeps me awake at night with regard to the industry. The luxury segment is on fire. Customers are looking for these experiences around the world, and you know, once I get something in my head, I can't get it out, so I literally have a notepad next to my bed to write down an idea and go back to sleep for 10 minutes and get another idea. And so truly, what keeps me up at night is the opportunity that is out there for all of us to continue to move this segment of the industry forward.
That's exciting.
It's very exciting.
It really is exciting. And you know, I'm the eternal optimist. With me, the glass is always half full. And I think that's what we're seeing and hearing here. And I must tell you, I think 2023 is going to be an exceptionally exciting year for luxury and our industry overall. We have a minute 53 left, and I think we are going to go a little longer because I wanted to ask one other question: is are you and how are you gearing towards the be-leisure, as they're calling it, where people are now extending their trips to take in work with weekends? Like, you know, Thursdays and Sundays used to be dead, but they aren't anymore. Are you taking that into account as you market your properties?
Happy to start. So it was easy for W because W was more a brand where it used to be a party brand. So people were coming to the W with an expectation to have fun. And actually part of the work we do when we met some customers, it was, you know, guess what? Sometimes when you come to W, we also need to sleep and to work. Okay, good point, fair point. So how we make sure that we provide options to the guests? how we make sure that if they really want to come and have an amazing night at the living room and enjoying with their friends, it's here. But they also, after flying 12 hours or 16 hours from Dubai and arriving in New York, they have these 2 or 3 hours to go and work and be there with themselves. So it's really about providing more and more options to make sure that even if they want to work 2 hours during the day, they can do that.
I also think it's not just as you said, leisure travel, because I think, with the whole landscape of the work environment changing and people working from home, I was down in Cabo recently and talking to a guest at the hotel. They checked in for they were supposed to be there for 9 days. They ended up staying for 9 months. And, you need to provide not only the space, so larger accommodations, but also the technology. Can they do their job? Is the Wi-Fi fast enough?